Hello and welcome to another Blab with B2B R&D. I am the co-founder and CEO, Ellen Williams, and always joined here by the co-founder and COO, Craig Yaris. Hey, Craig.
Good afternoon, Ellen. How are you?
Good, nice to see you.
Good to
and
see you.
Today we are talking about video marketing. And we are currently doing video marketing, so it's a sort of a good topic. I know here at Blab, a lot of the conversations, at least that I've been a part of, wind up talking a little bit about Blab itself. And we were just chatting about it before we went live, how as important as video is to marketing, the platforms that are out there are still sort of finding their way as well. So as much as the content is experimental, so are the tools. And if you've ever hosted a Blab, you'll know that, well, I guess even contributing to a Blab,
Yeah.
you see some of the differences. Certainly as host, you see the extra tools. And just today when I logged in, had some technical difficulties because the tool had changed a little bit. So hopefully people will catch up. I have tweeted the new link a few times, but video marketing is in some ways, people who've been doing it for a while certainly have gotten into a rhythm, and in others it's still very experimental. So what are share some of your thoughts of the experiences we've had over the last 6-8 months doing some video marketing, please?
Sure, no problem. We jumped on Blab fairly early, I think, and watching it evolve it's been an interesting process from an outsider. They made a big deal over the map coming in, and the map is gone. They make, so the fact that these things change so frequently, I think may cause people to be less comfortable or willing to use it. Like you said, this morning's Blab originally had a different link because we had technical difficulties, and they were technical difficulties that we really couldn't control. I was on a Blab this morning where they had issues also and had indicated they reported them at that time, where they couldn't get one of the people who was in an open seat. He had left the Blab, but they couldn't release the seat. It just wouldn't release.
Yeah, I've had that too.
So I think those kinds of things, if you're new to this, they're going to give you pause. It's like, okay, wait, I need to wait for the technology to catch up to the platform, I guess. And I think for small businesses, marketers, that could be, the fear factor could stop them. Definitely. I noticed, hey, this morning, like you said, we had issues. It would have been just as easy to say, oh, well, we can't do it.
A lot of what you're talking about is very specific to Blab. But
I think it's the same for
video marketing outside of, we were doing video marketing, pretty well prior to Blab. It wasn't live streaming. It was, where it was recorded and edited and tweaked a little bit, but still video.
But think about it. How many platforms did we try?
We did. That's very true. You're absolutely right.
We went through, my rough guesstimate would be 5 to 7 platforms on a weekly basis, rotating them. Hey, that really didn't work the way we wanted it to. How about this one? How about this one? Now, that's coming from 2 experienced and, dare I say, expert marketers who have comfort with technology and tools. We're not afraid to jump in, try something, and, fail. Now,
okay, so I'm going to interrupt you there, right? No, it's okay. So, and you're right? So when you talk about expert marketers, you're talking about, online marketing, and people who are experts in online marketing are fairly comfortable with technology, obviously, and the various tools, but you're throwing video in the mix, and there lies a whole different element.
Yes.
Not everyone is necessarily comfortable with video. I mean, we're playing around with the technology, and when, you know, we had a hiccup today, we got around it and kept moving. That's the technology side of it. But what about the video side of it?
It's a scary thing for people. I know. I try not to watch myself. I love to watch these and see the interaction afterwards, but I hate listening to myself. So now imagine the smaller marketer, the smaller brands don't like the way they're being portrayed physically or their surroundings. It is a tough thing to overcome. And I think we may have discussed this previously, although I don't recall specifically.
All these videos.
Yeah. That it is a daunting process for people and trying to decide how they want their brands to be portrayed. One of the biggest things that I've noticed watching ours is I'm on an iMac, nice 27-inch screen. Love it. It's great. The camera is, up here. You're over here. So I'm looking at you because customary to look at people when you talk to them. I shouldn't be looking at you. I should be looking at the camera because theoretically that's where I should, and I'm trying to do that, but it's very disconcerting for me personally. So now take that out to other people who, again, don't have maybe a support system. They don't have people like you and our followers and, Melanie and everybody that's joined us, Craig and Rochelle, to sit there and, support it.
Well, okay, so we have a couple things I want to touch on today. So the first is when you're doing it yourself. And you're absolutely right. There's the combination of the camera is at one part of the screen and the visual is at another part of the screen. So if I look at you on the screen, I'm not looking at the camera, looking like I'm actually talking to the people who are viewing. But so when you're videoing yourself and on the morning sip videos that we do, I use my smartphone, and it's the same thing. I have to be very cognizant to look at the camera, not look at the video as I'm doing it. But then there are the opportunities where someone else is videoing you, so that sort of goes by the wayside, where all there is a camera. Right. So that definitely makes it a little easier. So I think, one tip I would say for video marketing is once you've gotten over, or if you're just comfortable having yourself on camera, then having a second person to be the camera person is, I think, going to help with the focus.
I agree.
Onto the camera. But the second point I want to bring up and chat with you about, and everyone else here certainly jump in, is how does video marketing play a role in a marketing strategy? So we talked a little bit about tools, and we can come back and talk about tools. And we talked about, maybe the fear factor. So say we've gotten past that, I'm fine. Put me in front of a camera. Let's just roll it, right? How does video marketing really help within a marketing strategy?
And today especially, it's an incredibly important part of any marketing strategy. For years, and I'm going to go back 2 or 3 years, when Facebook was the dominant social marketing platform, their algorithm, their EdgeRank algorithm, always ranked videos higher than pictures and text posts. And the reason is engagement. People like to see other people. They like to listen. They like to talk. That's why these tools today, Vine, Periscope, Snapchat videos, Instagram videos, all of them are becoming so popular. It's not the creators, it's the consumers of video that are really driving this. I have always been a proponent of brands using video because it allows you to connect on that sort of personal level. Think about a financial planner having a video of them talking. it allows you to get comfortable with their mannerisms, with their something you can get on video that you can't really see anywhere else. So there is, to me, there's no marketing strategy without video.
Ooh, that's a tough call.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's a tough call, really. I don't know of a brand or business that couldn't at some point benefit from video. Even something like, creating widgets could benefit. Here's the video of the founder showing you how the widgets are made. It's that kind of thing. Wow, I really like that guy. You know what? I think I'm going to buy his widget versus her widget. So I really don't. I am making the prognostication. I don't even know if that's a word. Is that a word?
Now it is.
It is. Okay. Now it is. I'm good with that. That really any good, solid, well-rounded marketing strategy needs to take into account video. It has to be there. Even if it's something like Blab.
Is it anything more than just engagement? Now, I say that, just engagement because it's kind of silly. Obviously, engagement is very important. But my son asked me yesterday when he saw the morning sip videos we were doing, which are very short little snippets. Mm-hmm. And he's like, what's your goal here? And I said, well, it really is brand awareness. And getting in front of people and more content, and we are marketers, so we want to be utilizing video. So for us, it was several different goals for those videos, but I didn't say engagement. Funny enough, because I looked at the strategy for those to be slightly different than the strategy for this. Yet both of them are considered video marketing. So what do you think, Melanie? How often do you include video in the marketing that you do?
That's a really high percentage for me because it is growing and it's more acceptable. And I was on on Mondays after my one broadcast, I go on a place called DIN TV, and it's I think their tagline is the news that you can talk back to. And so and they're like DJs they're VJs, so they have like two you got a pilot and a co-pilot in there, and these are millennials. And I love jumping in on their show because like I'm the oldest one, and I can kind of, get a look at how they're viewing marketing or the news or anything they're doing. Mm-hmm. And one thing that was astounding to me is I asked them specifically, and Kevin's my favorite VJ over there. So if he's watching, hey, Kevin, I asked him, I said, why is it that I can take a picture of a Post-it note on my keyboard with handwriting on it, and that gets more shares and likes than all the effort I put into a blog or a video? Why is that? And he said, because it's raw and it's you at that moment. That's what we want to see. And I said, but there's no value in a sticky note on a keyboard. He said, it is, because you just revealed that you can be raw. And I said, oh, so that makes me think a little bit differently. And when I look at my demographics, I do, I have the highest percentage of people watching my videos are males ages 24 to 35. So, and that's how old Kevin is. Kevin falls in, that range. Mm-hmm. And so I'm thinking, oh, well, then they don't want they don't appreciate the so polished look. They like that raw look. And I said, and I asked Kevin, I said, well, do you still gain some kind of respect for a brand when they look raw like that? He says, yeah, I like to see the back end of a factory and how they put stuff together, because then I know how it's built, and maybe I want to buy because I see how hard it is to build whatever they're doing to make. Yeah, so that was enlightening.
My point exactly. It is that raw video that, I always said doctors should be making these kinds of videos and talking to people, because you get to see them at an honest time. Accountants, anybody. I do, and I think it is almost the perfect marketing platform. And Ellen, you talked about engagement. It may not be you may not have stated that as a goal of the Morning Sip videos, but it certainly is. When we look at metrics, we're looking at the engagement metrics. Did people on anywhere we share it like, comment, share? Because that's what's getting our brand, our name, and we do throw cards. We use YouTube, so we do use the advertising cards throughout the video that drive traffic.
I think to that point, any piece of a online marketing strategy has a goal of engagement. So I could say that across the board of pretty much anything we're doing. And maybe that's why it didn't jump to the top of my mind, because if he said, well, why are you on Blab? I'm going to have a different answer than why did we do the Morning Sip? Well, why do you blog? And I'm going to have a slightly different answer than why. But they all, I guess, the common thread through all of it is engagement. So the question now that I have, based on the conversation and where it's going, and the understanding that raw can be translated to also being real, when you start talking about the doctors and the attorneys, and a lot of what I've seen, and maybe it's changing, is a little less raw and a little more scripted. And I think that goes back to the comfort level people have as far as being in front of a camera. Can you be, off the cuff and more natural, or do you have to be a little more rehearsed in order to make sure that you're representing yourself and your brand in a way that you want to? And so how do both of those play into the same strategy, or is it one or the other? Which way would you go?
I think you have to include both, but try to appease the bigger audience first. So if you've got a bigger audience that does appreciate the polished, and because if you have a goal that you only have 40 seconds or a minute to say something, then you got to say exactly what you want to say, so that so that it's not 20% filled to ums and looking for things on your desk. So I think whatever.
But if you have an hour to blab.
Yeah.
But you see, but it's interesting, because this blab is raw. I mean, it's not scripted. I can't turn the camera around, but I'm looking it up. Really, actually. You'll see this is the Inception Blab now. I mean, it's taking up the whole screen here, and I've got nothing on this screen. So, it's seat of your pants kind of thing.
And I think that's going to be the appeal of Blab, because there has to be a way that people become more comfortable. And people will jump on the Blab. Maybe they'll have to be on the Blab 30 times before they'll say, okay, I'm going to make my own video. Because they are used to seeing themselves and used to hearing their own voice. That's the biggest thing. And your own voice is never going to sound exactly how you hear it, because you're hearing it from different perspectives. When I'm talking, I hear it from the inside of my eardrum, from the inside out. But when I'm listening to you or myself recorded, I'm listening from the outside in. So it's never going to sound like you want it to.
I prefer it from the outside in than the inside out, just so it's clear on my voice.
Really?
My voice, I hate listening to myself on video. I will almost sort of do the.
Then you prefer it's the opposite of what you just said.
So
You prefer it from the inside out. And I think most people do. I think most people do, because you're used to that voice. Yeah. That's the voice you hear all the time. When you hear it recorded back, it's a little foreign. Yeah. And I think besides having that comfort level in front of a camera, you have to have that, understanding that, your voice is going to be very different. And it's not that you like it or don't like it. It's just not the voice you're used to. And I got over that. When we started the business back in May, we started doing a lot of audio, and I was doing most of the audio, and I had to listen back to it. So I spent a lot of time with my headphones on, listening to myself talk. And so I got used to the fact that I sound exactly like my sister. So
isn't that strange? I sound exactly like my sisters too. I can't figure it out.
Yep. So there's that comfort level that do the way I look in video, is it the way I see myself? It's the way I perceive myself, is the way the camera is, giving it back to me. And then the audio element as well. Is that the voice I'm used to? It's not. So it's definitely a little bit of a hurdle, I think, unless you're comfortable or you've had, family videos forever, that, now that you're in front of a camera for your business, that both your audio and video of yourself is going to be slightly off what your perception might be.
And it's a matter of conditioning yourself to, get over that barrier. And what helped me was, while I was getting over that, the jitters, like, oh my gosh, here I am, I'm here, here's my voice, here's my hair, here's everything. I was on a video call with a lady named Dorothy, and Dorothy has a throat issue, and it sounds like she's 98 years old, struggling to breathe. And you really have to listen closely, so you can get used to what she's saying. And I asked her, I said, how on earth did you gain the confidence to, get on camera when obviously I know it looks like a struggle? And she said, it's not a struggle. I'm used to it. And people just have to get used to me because my content is valuable. And she said, yeah, they may have to spend a little bit longer listening to me, but it's worth it. And so I thought, well, gosh, if Dorothy can get over that, then why am I complaining?
No,
because I don't have a issue with enunciation. Maybe sometimes I do, but
we all do at some point.
We all do.
I just wanted to go back to the raw versus scripted sort of direct question. I was working, probably 4 years ago, with a financial planning client, and the idea was the videos and basically answering questions in quick under 2 minute videos, but he was not comfortable. Now, the information, you could talk to him face to face and he would rattle it off, no problem, but he wasn't comfortable with the camera on him doing it without a written word for word script. Now, mind you, he would set it up in front of him. The camera would be above it so you didn't see it.
Like cue cards.
Right. He would never look at it. And I found that the times that he did sort of do the, glance down, those are the videos we were redoing, because he wrote it word for word. And he'd look at it, oh, wait, I didn't say I there.
Oh.
Yeah. So sometimes I think the scripted can throw you off. I remember taking a speech class, way back when in college. And part of it was when you did speeches, you'd write it out word for word. Then you'd practice it a couple times. Then you'd put it on, sort of an outline form. Then by the end, when we actually did it, we were allowed index cards, but you'd have one word. That's all we were allowed, was the word to do the speech, because just the idea is to key you in. And I know, Ellen, when you and I speak to groups, we got, I hate to say this, we got nothing written down. We wrote it down before, it may be in the PowerPoint, but there's at no point do we ever pull something up and say, oh, wait, I didn't say this.
Yeah.
It makes...
I have to say, whenever I do bring things with me that, oh, this is great statistics, or, this came out this morning, I want to make sure I read it. The thing's over and the papers are sitting there and I go, oh yeah, I had some stuff I wanted to read to you.
I do that.
Because I'm so used to not having anything in my hands when I present. And I think having that previous experience with public speaking is definitely giving people a little bit of a leg up on the video. Because you do have that comfort level with your topic. You're able to say the things you want to get across. With video, we're live streaming now, but this is getting recorded.
Yes.
And we're going to get this recording, so we could easily edit out things that we didn't want. So when we present this recording, it's going to be cleaner than someone coming back to Blab and watching it. But that's, understanding that coming into a platform like this, that you're going to be able to see the good, the bad, and the ugly of the recording on this platform, even if we clean it up and present it differently elsewhere. And
I have to be honest, when we do present it elsewhere, we'll get the recording and we'll download it the whole 9 yards. I try to do minimal, if any, editing changes to it, because I think part of its appeal is that it's actual people having actual conversations, making actual mistakes sometimes. It makes us, I think, it makes us better at what we do. So, if you watch these on YouTube or the website or wherever we share them, the changes are going to be minimal. I think that's a more honest approach for me. And for us, when I say for me, I mean us. I'm speaking for you, Ellen.
Thank you.
And I had a dose of that on Monday. I was interviewed by my own team, because they say you interview everybody else, but nobody ever interviews you. So we're going to interview you. And
I'm sorry you missed that then.
Oh, it's still recorded. It's recorded.
I'm going to have to, yeah.
And I had no prior knowledge what I was going to be asked. I didn't. So when I was being asked these very in-depth, philosophical things about my life's journey, it kind of took me, like, oh goodness. And I made a comment about people who are obsessed with house cleaning, and it didn't come out right. And I thought, oh gosh, but see, our policy of that show is we don't edit, because that's the whole point. You have to get used to what you're doing. And then, so I knew I couldn't cut it. I could not edit that out. But when I made a podcast of it, I could have edited it out. But something told me, no, just do it just like it was, and then take it to the group and ask if they hear it differently, since the audio wasn't there. Because see, when I was messing up, you could see my face. I was like, panicked because I said something so rude. And I said, should I have left this out? And they said, oh my goodness, no, because they would know that you weren't real then. We know that you don't like house cleaning. We know that. You talked about it before several times. So it was one of those examples that even as often as I get on video and talk, I still get caught with those things like, holy cow, I said a very dumb thing, and but it was precious to everybody else. And oh my gosh, it was embarrassing for me, but genuine to them.
That brings up an interesting point, that when you talk about raw and you talk about live streaming and you talk about off the cuff, and we're talking about a topic that everyone is comfortable speaking about, does the comfort level become so high that the internal editor sort of turns off, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is there the opportunity to say something that in front of a group of people you would probably never say, and sometimes it feels very intimate at a platform like this.
Yeah,
even though the opportunity for hundreds of people to see it.
And I think based on the fan base we have for that Monday show, we know them. They've been following us for 2 years or whatever, so that we know each other that way. But on this, because I don't know everybody viewing, because it's a wider audience, I'm not going to repeat what I said about folks who clean their house.
Or at least the way you phrased it.
The way I phrased it, yeah, because
Right.
it's not my passion, clearly, but if it is your passion, bless you, because so that's all I'm saying. And I've got to dash. I've got to get on that other show and help out. So I'm glad about this, and I'm going to finish watching the replay later. So carry on.
Okay.
And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Melanie.
Okay,
Take care.
Bye-bye. Oh, now it's not going to let me out. Here we go. Bye-bye again.
And I think that is an interesting point. When does it become, you have to sort of keep your wits about you, your
Absolutely.
bearings on some of these conversations.
You have to, if you're at a networking group, you're going to behave in a, just because we're raw doesn't mean we're not professionals. And I think that line, you can't really ever cross that line. Now, I'm a really kind of boring, yeah, straight up kind of person. So I don't think that it's within my personality.
You don't put a mask on anyway, is what
Right.
you're saying. You're boring. Is that you don't portray different, people when you walk into different rooms.
No, yeah, this is for good, bad, or the ugly.
What you see is what you get.
And I think that's one of the good things. So I know, I guess myself, that I'm probably, there's a 99% chance I'm not going to say something inappropriate. Now, there is that.
And I don't know that I don't think she said something inappropriate. No. I think just the way it was phrased.
Right.
It came off, a little questionable. But I think then you just have to sort of acknowledge and go, okay, let me try that one again. Yeah, right. That, that didn't come out the way I meant it. That sounded odd to me.
But you see, and when you do something,
one. I did that once at a seminar. This is a given. It was about Pinterest, and let me think about how I was talking about the demographic at Pinterest, and I think I said something like it's the majority large women. And I was going to say the majority is women, or it's largely women, and I said the majority is large women, and I stopped for a minute. I went, well, that's not really true at Pinterest. It's not the majority of them are not large. They
don't actually ask you.
Yeah, they died laughing, and I was like, that's not what I meant to say.
And when you were presenting it, and if you were to have said that now, you can see from the person's reactions and facial expressions that it wasn't and to me, that's just hysterical. That's not a negative. That's just,
It just came out wrong. It came out wrong because when you are off the cuff and you're not scripted, the way in which you phrase things, because if you really are an expert at your topic, you have multiple ways in which you can create and disseminate that message. And depending on the audience you're speaking to, you may use different terms. So sometimes, it's spinning around and you're a little ahead of what you're actually saying because you're preparing for what you're going to say.
Yep. And
it just, doesn't always come out totally right. I mean, I did I was doing the morning sip yesterday. And I said, welcome to the Morning Sip. I'm Ellen Williams, CEO and co-founder of B2B R&D. And today's topic is, I don't remember what today's topic is. It's like, okay, let's try that again. Because I don't, that one is a little more highly produced. But
today's topic is something to talk about.
I'll catch on sooner or later. But it's that, and you don't get that opportunity on certainly live streaming.
Absolutely. But I like just there, the pause, it's sort of, it engenders people when people are actually thinking about what they're going to say, and you could see them sort of mulling over that, like you said, there's more than one way to possibly say it. I think it does offer some sort of connection with people. You know, we are, and I said it earlier, I consider us, and lots of people do, we're experts in digital marketing. But that doesn't mean we don't have to think about what we're saying. And answering questions, and we don't script this. And I'm thinking about this as we were starting. I believe that, you know, you had, well, not I believe, but I imagine you had some ideas of questions you were going to pose to myself and to whoever else joined us. And I don't know those questions. I was unaware of them. So it's sort of like a great interview show. You know, I don't know what's coming.
I appreciate you thinking I thought about this. I have, I have a 20-year history of freelance writing, and initially it was product reviews, and I was able to then move it into interviews with product development people and CEOs of software companies. And what I found is the questions I had put together were a lot of assumptions, and I would almost phrase them in a way that required them to answer them the way I expected them to. And it didn't always work out that way. And so I would ask again in a different way, because it couldn't possibly not be the answer I wanted to have from them, right? And over time, I learned, you know, 1 or 2 questions to get the ball rolling. But I find that a good interview, or at least my feelings of a good interview, is when you're listening to the answers and then the questions come from the conversation. So to be quite honest with these blabs, I have, you know, we know what we're talking about, and I don't really have any questions prepared. Especially now, this one being episode 22, we've done this so many times that I know there's going to be a conversation. There's going to be your opinion, right? And not always the same as my opinion. There are going to be people who come on board that type questions or come on board all the way to the video and be part of the conversation. And so the fact that material will come to me based on that's really where the questions come from. And I think if we're talking about raw, I think that leads to a more natural conversation, unless there's any one specific thing that I think we need to cover on a topic. Then I might bring us back to, there are 3 key points here. We've only touched on 2, which is not the case today.
No.
But
really,
you know,
I'm actually surprised. Not really surprised, because, you know, I know your history in that regard, and so I should have really put 2 and 2 together. But I'm not good at math, so, you know, it's interesting to me the way that you're able to really, you know, jump on that and pick that stuff out. I think that makes it for a much better conversation with everyone that we're talking to. I had done an interview show years ago. I didn't do the interviewing. I was the back room guy. I did a lot of, you know, the technical, editing? Yeah, well, not even the editing. It was a different platform which gave us options to do camera changes and put one person in screen and one person off. And I would listen.
I wish we could do.
I know, that'd be cool. I would listen to the host, and I don't know true or not, but I think he had those questions. You know, I'm going to ask 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the guest would say something, and I'd be sitting there sort of off screen just listening, so I know when to change. And I'm like, wow, that'd be a great follow-up question. And it was just totally, you know,
on to the
next question. And I thought there was some real loss of value in that, you know, sort of not going the road, but going, whoa, let's go this way and let's go this way. And I think that's what makes it much more interesting.
Well, certainly, you know, if you look at any television interview, you're going to see the majority of them have those, you know, big blue index cards. And I'm sure that there are key points that the sponsors and the advertisers and the, these interviews typically are celebrities that are either promoting a movie or, something of that nature. And if they don't keep on track with those, we need to bring it back to, what's paying the bills kind of thing.
Right.
So those questions have to be asked. But I think in a scenario like this, that I think it's much more free flowing. I find is like you said, it's a better conversation. The questions lead from information that's already been talked about, and continue that line of thinking, as opposed to having to go down one road and abruptly stop just to get back onto the next question.
You sort of feel like when you do that, you sort of feel like you're hiding something. When you just abruptly,
when you don't explore it, don't explore it full enough.
There's something, in my mind, there's something hidden there. Not so much that the interviewer didn't want to ask, but that the person sort of said, don't, if I bring this up, don't, go there. So I do have
may be the case at times too.
It may be. I know from the show I was working on, though, that wasn't the case. It was just, I have to ask 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As we hit the 3/4 of the hour, I'm going to actually circle back now. I had made the bold statement that I think any marketing strategy has to include video, and there was some disagreement on your part. So I was just curious if you wanted to sort of divulge more of what you were thinking in that regard.
The follow-up to that you said was that you couldn't think of a business that wouldn't benefit from using video, and that I'd be willing to agree to. But the statement that, it was almost to the point of, if your marketing strategy doesn't include video, then you're not doing it right, was sort of the feel I got from the statement that you had said, although that wasn't verbatim. And that's what sort of took me, aback, because of everything we talked about from that point, which is the comfort level, the content, are people really ready to jump into video? Now, you and I jumped into video. We jumped in prior to Blab being around, although we did find Blab quickly after it became a platform. And we were trying to do these kinds of just two, person conversations, which is where we are on this Blab now. So we understood that video could play a big role in communicating and engaging, and in, people seeing who we are. And I think you're absolutely right, especially for service professionals. Can I get a comfort level working with this doctor or this lawyer or this accountant by seeing that person on screen, being themselves, communicating, being engaging? But I'm not sure every business is ready to jump into video, because smaller businesses, you do have I'm not looking at the camera, I'm looking down, what am I doing? I have to get used to this. And then the larger businesses, you have, the legal department and the marketing department, and all the red tape that goes with it. So I'm sure there are plenty of brands out there that don't have video as part of their marketing strategy, and they don't believe that there's a hole in it. But I think you're right. There isn't a business that couldn't benefit from it. Yes, there are opportunities there, but it was just sort of that broad statement of, almost, if you're not doing it, then you don't have a complete strategy. That's sort of.
And I'm going to stick with that and say, just because they don't have it and don't think there's that hole in their strategy doesn't mean there isn't. And you're right. There are some businesses that can't do it. And if they can't, then you go on. So the strategy won't include video. We can't for whatever reason. Or we choose not to for whatever reason. We don't see the value. That's okay. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm saying a complete marketing strategy has to look at all avenues. So a marketer should bring to that brand and say, okay, look, we're going to do X, Y, Z on video. And then the brand could easily say, you know what, we don't want to do video. Is it right or wrong? It's right or wrong for the brand. If that's what they're good with, then that's what they're good with. I do think, though, that there's a downside to every bit of marketing that you do. I saw today in the newspaper, I don't remember what newspaper I was reading, that I think it was a company, Land's End, let's say, is pulling an interview out of their catalog because of backlash. Now, I don't agree with them doing this, but they felt it was the best. Now, the interview, was what it was. I didn't read the interview. I can't comment on it. So, and that's printed. That's old-fashioned catalog printing. And they've made a mistake in their eyes. So everything we do has the chance for backlash. So for companies to say, well, we don't want the backlash of the video. Look,
but it doesn't necessarily have to be a backlash. I mean, you're right. You're right. There's you do your best to put your best face forward, and not everyone's always going to agree with what you say. So in some cases, people care, and in other cases, you're going to rile them up to the point where they do care, and they're going to say something. And then you've got the whole, okay, how as a brand do I, how do I handle this? Is it damage control, or is it, okay, you've opened a conversation, let's have it, right? And that's something totally different. But if we're talking about using video as a part of your marketing strategy, there is a lot to it. It's not as easy as we need to be on Twitter. Okay, we're on Twitter. Now, granted, that's not as easy as, okay, I'm on Twitter either. You need a strategy, I understand. But posting and developing and curating and searching for content is not, I will take full responsibility. To me, it's not as difficult as, creating video where you have the visual and not just the graphic or the image. You've got the ongoing visual. I mean, I've said this before about my background. It used to be the room behind me, but I actually am facing the wall, so the room is very large. So I've decided, to do something different behind me. The morning sip, I found a spot that I think is appropriate with the background. That has it's not quite as bland, but these things take consideration and time, and I can be anywhere and tweet. So I think video comes with.
But you can be anywhere and video.
That it depends on what you want as part of your video strategy. Sure. Yes, quote unquote, you can, and brands can. I choose not to. I will not be somewhere in public, and we did actually a morning sip about this, to be careful where you do your video, because if there are people behind you that don't want to be there, then and so here's an example of something similar. I used to be a member of sort of a steering committee of an organization, and I'm no longer a member of that organization, because of the new business. The former business I was in had the membership, and I haven't renewed it with the new business, so I'm not part of that group anymore. They keep sending me an email though, hey, the meeting is next week. I went to their website, and sure enough, I'm in the picture of the group, that's promoting the event next week. Now it's just a small group of people, but and I was like, is that me? And and I was like, wow, I'm in that picture. And I looked, and just about everyone else in that picture is still part of that committee. And I thought, well, that's, do I really want my picture there promoting that committee if I'm not on it anymore? And so, I could certainly contact them and say, please use a different picture, or blur my face. That'd be funny. But with video, you definitely have to consider that, and hence another issue with video marketing is where you are taking those videos, and do you have permission from everyone that happens to be in the video if you're using it for commercial?
Well,
If you're
actually,
just taking a
YouTube
video and
just
posting and you're not looking for any, it's not a branded or anything like that,
right.
that's a little different. But if you're looking to, promote your brand and potentially grow your business that eventually brings in money, then, if you're using my face to do that, and I didn't say you could,
Sure.
there's an issue there. So I've chosen personally not
Right.
to video in a public place.
Now, excuse me, YouTube just released a tool that will blur out faces automatically. I mean, just like, a day ago. And so they're sort of taking those steps, seeing themselves as the stepping stone platform, just like we do. This video is made, we're going to download it, we're going to put it on our YouTube channel. So we could actually, within YouTube, take out people if this was a public place, which is a nice feature, and for that reason. And also, you were talking about reaction and brands reacting and whether they should. One of the articles within research this week is dealing with just that. Have brands, and this could be the the topic of another blab completely, have brands and companies really gone too far in the way they react? Do they no longer know if a reaction is necessary? Maybe sometimes it's not. Maybe sometimes you let the people react for you.
Which was, when social media first came out, was totally not the case. It's always
Right.
great. It's always great when someone reacts on your behalf to defend you as a brand, but not being part of the conversation was definitely not best practice.
Oh, absolutely.
But I mean, like the internet as a whole, it started with a few people that were the authorities, because a lot of print publications then had websites, so the content you would read in the magazines,
Right.
you'd read on, and then they hired people to write exclusively for the internet, because there was a different flavor of writing that happens on the internet than versus print. And then along came social media and blogging. Now everybody's got a voice. And right. And so then now the brands, oh my gosh, people are talking to us, we better talk back. And again, now that's exploding, where if the world talks to me, how can I possibly, respond to every single one of them? So yeah, absolutely.
But here, the new tools that were released for direct messaging through Facebook, that brands can now talk direct, and Twitter has the new customer service tool available. It's really opening up that conversational world between brands and consumers, even more than was there before. It's
Right.
a real one-to-one conversation.
Absolutely nothing to do with video.
No, absolutely not. I know. Okay.
Way to stand up.
Yeah.
So this is really Digital Marketing Insights, whatever Craig wants to say. We should name next week that. Whatever comes up.
I'm changing the topic now.
So you mentioned a few minutes ago, it was content that was in research, and that's B2B R&D research. So that's our product, located at b2brnd.com. And it's a great warehouse of all news trends regarding the world of digital marketing, things that are changing from the aspect of when, such as you explained, Twitter or Facebook or any platform makes a change, or topical information and trends from influencers across the digital marketing industry. And we have a 30-day free trial, so hopefully anyone watching would be enticed to go take a look. b2brnd.com, 30-day free trial, and you can search and tag and link back to where we originally read all that information, and really keep yourself up to date on what's going on in the world of digital marketing. So as we reach the top of the hour, video marketing was the topic of the day. We chatted about the different platforms. We chatted about the different strategies and what video marketing can do for a business, everything from engagement to being real and having people see who you are, and the ability on a platform such as this, which is live streaming, to be off the cuff and show your expertise as questions that are not planned can come your way, versus videos that are a little more scripted, that may be short in length and really highlight your expertise, such as a doctor or a lawyer or attorney or anyone that has a service-oriented business. We chatted about the hurdles of learning to love yourself on video, right? The way you look, the way you talk, the way you sound, and all that other fun stuff. So there's a bit to be done and understood and sort of internalized by putting video into your marketing strategy. And Craig professes that video is an important and valuable and almost inescapable part of any marketing strategy.
And I stand by that.
And we are doing it, and we are doing it in many different ways. So any last words as far as
I don't want to
what people what's the best way to start? I guess let's ask you, what do you think the best way to start video marketing?
Start. Pick a platform, whether it be Blab, Periscope, Meerkat, Snapchat, Instagram, doesn't matter. Pick a platform and start. Just be there. And
so you're talking to what size business? Because if I'm going to go to IBM, is IBM going to just start?
No, IBM's got a really big legal team. So they're going to be a little bit less off the cuff and a little bit more scripted. But they are, to my knowledge, doing video marketing as well, and have been for a while. So they're just going to do it in a different manner. If for a small business, start. Big business, take a look at where your audience is, and that's the platform you're going to begin with. Most likely, it's going to just be starting with YouTube videos that you're going to create a little bit more polished, maybe. But it's just, again, it has to start somewhere.
So even though larger corporations are going to have a little longer road because they have the legal and the branding and all that, and they have the money for the polished video, you see there's still value in larger brands having a mix of polished and raw.
I do. Absolutely. I think it'd be fascinating for IBM to take you on a tour of one of their data centers, or just because you mentioned them. Or if I could see the insides of, the Dell factory as it puts together my computer that I ordered, so to speak. I think those things have major value. Major.
And what if you're not a manufacturer?
Let's take it. Yeah, Macy's. Okay, let's go to a department store. Give me the decision-making process on how you bring brands in, how you decide what clothing lines. That kind of stuff could invoke engagement. I have a video of the decision-making process on why we're going to have this brand over that one, and it now can involve the audience, the consumers who are going to be buying those brands.
Do you think that's, what do they call it, like trade secrets? Because the brand at Macy's is not the brand elsewhere, that their buyer is better than the next?
I don't know that world, so I can't say. My understanding, as most basic as it can get, is that they're all making decisions based upon the same designers, and they just decide what their audience wants more than. And you certainly, I'm sure it could be done without trade secret, even if it's a little bit less actual than it needs to be.
All right. Great way to end. I like that we covered the big business and the small businesses. So hopefully we will see you next week. We are here on Blab every Friday at noon Eastern. I am Ellen Williams, CEO and co-founder of B2B R&D, joined here by
Craig Yaris, the COO and co-founder of B2B R&D.
And thank you for joining us,
Yes,
and we'll see you next week.
Take care.